Hello there. I want to welcome you to our live stream. I'm Delus Johnson. I sure appreciate you being here today. And this is going to be our Friday live stream. And we're going to be here every Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Pacific. So I hope you can join us every Friday morning. We're going to be running the live stream. So I really appreciate that you're here today. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to basically, today's live stream, I'm going to cover the whole startup process. I'm going to show you exactly how to basically get your dealer's license hanging on the wall. We're going to talk about this, and then I'm certainly going to take questions from you. And if you are watching this replay, then please leave your questions in the comments section. I'll do my very best to answer those questions for you. So first of all, I want to congratulate you. You have taken the first step in becoming a licensed motor vehicle dealer. And having a dealer's license is, in my opinion, I'm a little bit partial, but I do believe it's one of the greatest businesses on the face of the earth, but it does bring a great amount of ethical responsibility, because you can buy a vehicle from one individual, mark it up by thousands of dollars, and sell it for a huge profit. The typical markup on a used vehicle on a retail lot is anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 or more. And, on RVs and commercial trucks, the profits can range from $6,000 to as high as $12,000 a vehicle. And our research has shown that the average dealer that's been in business, the average retail dealer that's been in business for at least a couple of years, is usually netting about $319,000 per year. So I'm going to look forward to showing you how to get into this business and operating your business with complete integrity at all times. And first of all, just to kind of let you know, my name is Delus Johnson, and I am the lead instructor of the Automobile Dealer Training Association. I have traveled to the United States for years and years giving in-class training, and we were founded to basically help you obtain a license, approve proven profit strategies, and operate with the very highest level of ethical standards, and also help you realize how important it is to keep your customers happy. But I want to make sure that your new business venture is compliant with state and federal laws, because it is so crucial to be aware of all the state and federal laws that you're going to have to follow while you're running your dealership. When you take the steps that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, and you obtain your dealer's license, your state is basically giving you permission to go out and make as much money as you possibly can. They're literally handing you a license that allows you to achieve unlimited profits. But when you follow all the steps needed to obtain your dealer's license, you are going to gain access to every dealer auction in the United States. And you're going to realize how cheap those vehicles are selling for in the lanes compared to how high they sell for on your dealership lot. So you're going to realize this is a very high markup industry. If you're willing to take the steps that we're going to cover here with you to obtain your dealer's license, you're going to realize that you probably had wished that you got this license many, many years ago. But you cannot get into the dealer auctions unless you have a dealer's license. So the one catch to obtaining and keeping your license is to follow every single state dealer license division guideline at all times. We've got 50 different states with 50 different divisions that regulate dealer licensing. So we have 50 different sets of laws. But one thing I've learned as I've traveled to the United States, these dealer regulatory divisions have been dealing with unscrupulous dealers for years. And what happens to an unscrupulous dealer? Well, they they lose their dealer's license. So it is really worth taking the steps to maintain your compliance, because if you do not take every step needed to maintain compliance, you're going to lose that license. So, I also know for a fact that when a person loses their dealer's license, a state's going to make it really extremely difficult to regain that license. So if you do violate your state's dealer license laws and you are fortunate enough not to have your license, I guarantee you that you're going to get some fines. But, one thing I really want to stress to you in this new business, that if you take all the steps necessary to maintain 100% compliance, then you will always maintain 100% profits. Because if you take all the additional steps to maintain compliance, you're never going to pay any fines out of your profits. You're never going to lose your dealer's license. And if you maintain 100% compliance, you never pay any fines. So 100% compliance equals 100% profit. So I hope, I hope this is very important that you're aware of this. I think it's very important that you're aware of this because you cannot keep a dealer's license and make all this money if you are, going around your state's guidelines. So, the market potential on vehicles is absolutely unlimited. And I'm partial to this industry, obviously, but I really believe this is one of the world's greatest industries that you can get into. So we're definitely going to talk about this here this morning. And if you're watching the replay, please do leave your comments there at the bottom of the screen. And I will certainly do my very best to help you get your dealer's license or obtain your dealer's license or, answer those many questions. With that being said, before I start showing you the simple, easy startup process, I do always want you to be aware that I'm actually an approved training provider for several states. So, if you're deciding to get your dealer's license for the first time, say, for example, in Texas, California, Ohio, Missouri, or renewing your license in New Mexico, I'm approved to provide those training courses for you. So if you decide to get your dealer's license in the state of Texas, I will be giving that course for you at texasdealers.com. That's a 6-hour online course that you can take. We are approved by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles to provide Texas dealer's license training. We're also approved by the California Department of Motor Vehicles. So if you're getting your dealer's license in California, you can go to californiadealer.com, and I'll be giving that. That's a live 6-hour Zoom class that we hold about once a month, but that is a live class. OhioDealer.com is a little bit different. If you're getting your license for the state, in the state of Ohio, I'm approved by the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles. I've been doing training for Ohio dealers for several years, and it's two ways you can do that. You can either take the 6-hour online course at your convenience, or you can take it in class. So I give live in-class instruction in Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus. So OhioDealer.com. Missouri Dealer, I get the 4-hour pre-license course. Now in Missouri, you have to actually come into a classroom. You cannot take that training online. MissouriDealer.com. If you are renewing your license in New Mexico, you can go to NewMexicoDealer.com. And if you're in any other state, you can go to dealertraining.org. Once again, that is dealertraining.org. And you can take our profit training, our startup strategies, our compliance training. We have 3 levels of training there for you. So, my goal is to help you not only get your license, but hopefully help you achieve some profits with this new business that you wouldn't have thought you would ever be able to obtain. So that's one of my goals here with our instruction. Okay. So what I want to do here first, I want to take you through the startup process. Okay. Just real quickly, I want to talk about basically what you have to do to get your dealer's license in every single state. So I want to show you here on screen here, basically what you're going to be looking at is you do have to submit a background check, fill out your dealer application. Most states will require a building and lot. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Most states require phones and business signs. All states require insurance and some type of bond, employment identification numbers. And sometimes you do have to take a dealer educational course as well. And then you have to submit the required documents in a correct manner. Okay, so I want you to be aware of this. Now, the first thing you need to do is find out how to apply in your state. So we have some great links for you there at the dealertraining.org website. You can go to dealertraining.org. On any web page there of dealertraining.org, you can scroll down, click on state dealer applications, as you're going to see right here. There's a link to these dealer applications in most states. Also, if you just want to find out how to obtain your license in your state, we have 50 different states that have different licensing categories and licensing steps. So if you're not really sure how to get started, go to dealertraining.org and you can click on the Get License tab at any page there, scroll down, and you're going to be able to click on the state that you want to get your license in. And we've got startup instructions for you there. Hopefully that's advantageous for you. And, just by the way, I want to ask you, if you do happen to see some dated contact information or something that's not incorrect, please, on the replay here, if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, please leave us some comments there at the bottom of the screen to let us know if there's some incorrect information. We always try to keep that updated for you. Something else I'm going to ask you to do, since I'm new at this, I need to learn how to zoom my webcam. For some reason, I'm not able to zoom. That's why you're seeing the entire background here. But I'm doing this live stream on Vimeo. But if you have any suggestions for me to make this live stream a little bit better here, I would really appreciate that. Maybe you're going to chat those to me, or if you're watching the replay, I would certainly appreciate if you let me know how to make this screen look a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller, so you don't have to see this whole background here in the back. But with that being said, let's run through a couple steps here. I want to talk about with you here. Most states are going to require that you submit some type of background check. And, the reason for this, the state wants to make sure that they're not giving a dealer's license to somebody that rolled back odometers or, managed some auto theft ring or something like that. The last thing your state wants to do is basically give a dealer's license to somebody that robbed a bank or something like that. They really require dealers to be of a higher level of ethical standards than the average person walking down the street, because here very soon, when you get your dealer's license, you're going to realize that many times you're going to have complete financial oversight over these very large financial transactions, because many, many times it's more than likely just going to be you and one person in a room. So, your state is basically giving you this license to make unlimited profits, but they also are giving you complete oversight over these very, very large financial transactions. So, your state is basically going to require that you are of a higher level of ethical standards than the average person walking down the street. So you have to run a background check on yourself. Some states require fingerprints. Some states will just allow this online. But almost every state does require some type of background check in order to obtain your dealer's license. Now, one thing I want to show you here on screen, we've got some great contact information. These are your state dealer regulatory divisions, and they're all different, obviously. And as you're getting into this industry, you definitely need to be aware that every single state has their own guidelines. There are only a handful of federal regulations over dealers. So, and I'll often get asked, well, hey, listen, I've got a dealer's license in Michigan. Can I go down and open a lot in Texas? No, you've got to get a Texas dealer's license to have a lot in Texas, or vice versa. Or I've had people say, my lot's in Kentucky. Can I go ahead? My license is in Kentucky. Can I go across the river and open a dealership in Ohio with my Kentucky license? No. Your license is located wherever your physical lot is located. So here you see some great contact information. If you have specific questions about your dealer licensing regulations, and on the first page here, you're going to see Alabama through Maine. And by the way, if you're playing this on the replay, you can just pause this screen and find out these direct phone numbers to dealer licensing bureaus in your state. And then next, you're going to see Maryland through South Dakota. So you can certainly pause these and call any one of these right here. In fact, it's interesting because Nevada has basically different divisions that regulate depending on the geographic areas. Okay, so and then on the final page, and you can pause this on the replay, this is going to be Tennessee through Wyoming. So these are direct phone numbers for you. I hope you find them very advantageous when you're contacting your dealer licensing regulatory business. That's going to be, I hope, hopefully very, very helpful for you. One thing that is going to be required in just about every state is registering this new business with your Secretary of State. And this can usually be done less than 5 minutes over, via online registration. Not only is your Secretary of State your leading election authority in your state, they are also the leading regulator of business entities. So you are going to have to decide your business entity. Maybe you're going to be an individual. Maybe you're going to be an LLC. I mean, you can certainly get some legal advice, but just about every single state regulatory agency, when it comes to the Secretary of State, has some really great explanation pages for you. So hopefully that'll help you when you decide your business entity. You will have to decide your business entity before you apply for your dealer's license. Okay, so we'll make sure that, and almost all states do require that you are going to register that business with the Secretary of State, because your state wants to make sure they have a record of every single business that is actually operating in your state. So with that being said, I get a lot of calls on this, and I have a lot of discussion on this requirement. your business building. In order to have a dealer's license, you are going to have some type of place of business, okay? Every state has very different requirements, and you must follow your state regulations. Some states will actually allow you to operate your dealership out of your home. There's not many that do this, but there are a few that will allow this. But no matter where you're getting your license, your state is going to require that you meet local zoning ordinances. Okay, so how do you find out your local zoning? Well, it's very easy. If you're in a city, you can call your city hall. Normally, you can ask for planning and zoning. If you're in a rural area, you can call your county, ask for planning and zoning, and tell them the address of the dealership that you want to, the address of the building that you want to have your dealership located at, and they'll tell you whether or not you can have a dealership at that location. More and more states are prohibiting a residence to be used as a dealership, but if your state does allow residential dealer licensing, I always say get that license as soon as possible, just in case they change that law later on. Hopefully you would be grandfathered in. Now, also, there are states that strictly prohibit a dealer's license being held at a residence, but some states will require that you have a separate building from the residence, but no matter what, you've got to meet that local zoning. And, you know, I get calls just about every day from someone that'll say, well, I want to get a dealer's license and get in the dealer auction, but I don't want to have a building or a lot and all that. I just want to get in the dealer license, in the dealer auction, so I can buy vehicles real cheap. Well, you can't get in the dealer auctions unless you have a dealer's license, and you're going to have some type of building in order to have a dealer's license. So maybe you can have this at your home. It's doubtful anymore. They don't really allow this, but I'll also get calls from persons that will say, you know, I found a location. They want $1,200 a month. I don't want to spend $1,200 a month, or maybe this is a lot cheaper than that. You know, there might be somewhere in your area that's $400 or $500 a month. If you get into a big urban city, obviously it could be much more than that. But if you're not making that back with one single sale, I mean, you are not marking your vehicles up enough. You know, I would never hesitate to go out and spend a $900 to $1,200 a month or more to get into this lucrative industry, because you know, you should be making that back. If you can sell, hopefully, you know, one good sale a month should pay your rent. You know, that is very much the norm. So if you are willing to take the steps to go out and get your dealer's license, I think you're going to be really glad to do this. But no matter what, if you got a retail or a wholesale license, you have to have a building. You have to have a building in order to have a license. Now, here's another requirement I want to talk about with you, which is your display lot. Now, I've often been asked, you know, I can get a building, but I don't want to get a display lot. Well, that's fine. You know, if you want to get a wholesale license, normally you do not need a display lot. Normally you can just have a building to have a wholesale license. Now, in my opinion, there are some disadvantages to having a wholesale license only. And that disadvantage is you can only sell to other licensed motor vehicle dealers. Okay, so with that being said, you know, I want you to think about this, because when you have a wholesaler, someone that says, well, I'm just going to go get my wholesale license and I'm going to buy vehicles at dealer auctions and sell them to all the other dealers. Well, think about this. Another licensed dealer can get into that same dealer auction. Another licensed dealer has all the access to that pricing data. And when you get your dealer's license, you're going to realize you can get Black Book. Black Book is the dealer auction wholesale pricing statistics, or Manheim Market Report. You know, when you get your dealer's license, Manheim, which is the largest dealer auction company in the world, they have MMR, which is Manheim Market Report, which allows you to basically download this app on your phone, tells you exactly what vehicles are selling for wholesale, what they were selling for last week, what the predicted markup will be this week. So just think about this scenario. You go into a dealer auction with a wholesale license, you buy 5 cars with the intent to sell them and mark them up and sell them to other dealers. Well, the other dealers have that same pricing data that you do. So I always question, no offense to you if you're a wholesaler, but why is another dealer going to buy vehicles directly from you with your markup when they can buy those vehicles directly at the dealer auction at no markup? So many times as I give my classes all over the United States, I'll have someone that's had a wholesale license and they're coming in to do retail. You know, they're coming in to take the training to do retail. Because if you think about the retail license, there's absolutely no limit on your customers. You can sell to other dealers at the dealer auction, but more than likely, a majority of your sales are going to be those sales to your customers on the lot. So when you have a retail license, it opens up your market. The world is your market. You can sell to licensed dealers. You can sell to any person walking down the street that stumbles on your lot and buys vehicles from you. And the person that's buying the vehicle from you on the lot does not know what that vehicle sold for at the dealer auction So more than likely, they're probably going to give you a lot more for it than another licensed dealer would. But in order to have a retail lot, you've got to have a display lot, obviously. You have to have a display lot. There are so many different size requirements for display lots all over the country. Some states require 1 space. Some states require 5. Some states require 10 spaces. And I know a state that requires 32 vehicles. I mean, very cost prohibitive to find a location like that. But like, as an example, the state of New Mexico only requires you to have 1 space. You only have to have 1 space in the state of New Mexico. If you're getting your dealer's license in the state of Texas, you have to have space for at least 5 vehicles of the type you're selling. Some states require 10. Okay, so you do have to have a lot. So keep this in mind. If you're going to be a retail dealer, you've got to have a lot. Now, your lot may have to be on the exterior of the building or the interior of the building, or a combination of both. Some states require exterior lots only. Some states will allow part of the lot to be outside and part of the lot to be inside. And some states will allow it to be completely inside. So that's going to be up to your state, depending on what their licensing requirement is for your display lot. But as a reminder, you cannot have a retail license without a display lot. You cannot have a retail license without one little area for display. Now, sometimes those display lots can be inside of the building. So if you can rent a building that has room inside, like a garage, and it meets local zoning, then you should be able to get your dealer's license, hopefully at that location, if your local zoning is going to allow it. Many states require that you have a phone, okay? Now, some states require landlines. Some states actually do require landlines. Some states will allow a cell phone, but almost every state requires you submit some type of phone number with your application, and that's going to show that, your customers want to be able to get a hold of you, and your state wants to make sure that you are accessible to your customer, okay? So with that being said, they want to make sure that your customers know how to get a hold of you, whether they got a question about a vehicle they want to purchase from you, or maybe they have a question about a vehicle they've already purchased from you. You have to be accessible to your customers. So that's why you have to have a phone requirement as well, okay? Now, a business sign. Almost all states require either a wholesale or retail dealer to have a business sign, because they want your building to be basically identified as a dealership, okay? So they want you to identify your building as a dealership. There are a lot of different size requirements. Many states require a permanent business sign that has, that's either mounted on the building or like put on a pole out on the display lot. And all states are going to require that sign can be viewable from the public or the roadway. And many, many states require your dealership letters to be at least 6 inches high or larger. So that's something they want you to be aware of, okay? So make sure that you have your business sign up. They want your building to be identified as a dealership. Even most states require wholesalers to have some type of business posting on that building, okay? So do please keep that in mind. Now, your state's also going to require that you submit photographs with your application. So they, basically your state agency wants to know what your operations look like. Sometimes you can just submit one photograph. Okay, and some states require multiple photographs. Like we do training in California, you have to have about 12 different photographs. And if you're interested in that, you can find out more about that at californiadealer.com, by the way. But some states only require one photograph, but almost every single state does require some type of photograph. So be ready to take a picture of your business and submit that with an application. Okay, so that is very important that you're aware of that. Now, next, I want to talk about a really, really important component of this new business, which is called dealer insurance. Now, you're probably aware of this, but every state in the United States requires every vehicle being driven on any roadway to have insurance, including the vehicles that your customers are going to be test driving, and then, of course, all service vehicles as well. Many states require that you have insurance before you can get your dealer's license, and all states require that you have some type of insurance on your inventory before your customers are taking test drives. So it's really imperative that you have coverage on vehicles no matter what before you do purchase inventory, because there are huge fines for dealers that do not have insurance on their inventory. In fact, I want you to be aware of this. I'm not trying to scare you here, but if for some reason your state allows you to get a dealer's license without insurance, I guarantee you they require you get insurance on your inventory before the customers are test driving your vehicles. I know there are states out there that say if you've got a dealer's license and you let your insurance expire, they will actually revoke your dealer's license. But there are states also that say if a dealer allows a customer to drive any vehicle in their inventory without insurance, they may suspend that dealer's driver's license. So, I always tell everyone, don't let this business be the reason you can actually lose your driver's license, okay? You've got to make sure that you have coverage on your inventory. Now, there are a couple of different coverages that will keep you compliant with your state law. Number one, the bare bones minimum is going to be dealer liability, okay? Now, dealer liability is just like liability on your own vehicle. Think about this. If somebody wrecks one of their demos into if somebody wrecks one of your demos into another vehicle, it's going to fix the other vehicle. That's dealer liability. So you want to make sure that you at least have dealer liability. It is going to be the cheapest type of coverage that'll make you compliant with your state, but it also gives you the least amount of coverage. I always recommend either starting out or maybe shortly thereafter, after you start making some money, to bump it up. And you might think of this as full coverage, but we don't call it full coverage. We call it open lot. We call it dealer's open lot. Okay. Open lot is not like, say, for example, doesn't cover a specific amount of vehicles. It covers a dollar amount. So what I mean by that, if you have $50,000 worth of inventory or even $10,000 worth of inventory, you want to make sure you have enough coverage on your inventory, because you could live in a state with hail. You could live in a state with tornadoes. I've read cases all over the place where dealers have inventory stolen, or maybe a tornado comes in, wipes out an entire inventory. I've read where water mains break and flood inventories. So you want to make sure you have enough coverage on your inventory. And I do also want you to be aware, normally when you're starting out, you are going to be paying the highest rate. So you have to get to that 3-year plateau in your industry. Once you have 3 years of experience with a dealer's license, normally you'll see a dramatic reduction of your policy pricing. But with that being said, you are going to normally pay the highest rates your first 3 years. So check out your state regulations. Maybe your state requires you have insurance before you get your license. All states will require that you have a policy in effect before you actually allow your customers to drive your vehicles. Now, before I move on to this next requirement, there's often a lot of confusion between insurance and the next requirement. Now, always remember, your insurance is coverage on your inventory. Okay, insurance is coverage on your inventory. This next requirement is a little bit different, and this is your dealer surety bond requirement. Okay, almost all states will require some type of bond, or sometimes the state may allow what's called an irrevocable letter of credit. If your state allows irrevocable letters of credit, you can normally obtain one of these from a bank, but a lot of banks will tell you, let's say, for example, you call your bank up and you say, I need a $25,000 irrevocable letter of credit so I can get my dealer's license. More than likely, your bank is going to tell you, okay, sure, just deposit $25,000 into one of our accounts and I'll make sure that you get your irrevocable letter of credit. So what 99 out of 100 dealers do is the other route, which is the dealer surety bond. And this is the route that I always chose. A dealer surety bond's pricing is based upon your credit score. So if you have to get a $25,000 dealer surety bond, it's not going to cost you $25,000 just based on your credit score. So $25,000 bond, I'm going to give a rough estimate here. With good credit, it's going to run you $150 to $250 a year, something like that. If you have to get a $50,000 bond, a lot of states require $50,000 dealer surety bonds. Well, if that's the case, then that's going to run you $300 to maybe $400 a year with good credit. But they are based on your credit score. So you need to, with good credit, you'll pay the lowest rates. With a couple of blemishes on your credit score, they will certainly drive those prices up. But these are to ensure that you operate with a high level of ethical standards, and they're going to be required for every dealer's license in the country. Okay, so please do keep that in mind. Now, this next requirement is going to be required in just about every state as well. Most every state in the country requires you obtain an employer identification number, sometimes called a federal tax ID number, or more simply, an EIN. I'm going to make a very confident prediction here. If you complete all the steps in order to obtain your dealer's license, I'm going to predict that your income is going to go up. In fact, if you're willing to work really hard at this business, I predict your income is going to go up dramatically. And by the way, with this dramatic increase in your income, well, Uncle Sam is going to want a little piece of that action. So an employment identification number is a number that's assigned to your new business by the federal government, and you're going to use this number on your tax returns, and almost all states require that you obtain an employer identification number before you get your dealer's license. Now, as a side note, there are companies that will charge you several hundreds of dollars for this application. All of our dealer training courses cover this extensively for free. So I always recommend, don't pay someone to get your employer identification number for you. So a few clicks online, we'll show you how to do that. During any one of our courses, we show you how to get that employment identification number. Now, one of your final steps or beginning steps in many states, I want you to be very aware because I've been involved in this industry for a very long time. Most states are going to require that you take some type of dealer educational class before you obtain your dealer's license. And it's kind of like if you want to get a real estate license, you can make a lot of money. So states require you take training before you can get your real estate license. If you want to get an insurance license, you can make a lot of money. And you're required to take training before you get your insurance license. Well, I am here to tell you that a dealer's license can be very lucrative. So many states now require that you take a training course before you do gain your license. And, by the way, I've had a real estate license, I've had an insurance license, and I've had a dealer's license. And I made a lot more money with my dealer's license than I ever did personally in real estate or insurance. So maybe your state does not have a dealer educational requirement. Unfortunately, states that do not have dealer educational requirements tend to educate their newly licensed dealers with fines. So I know many states get their education every time their state sends them a fine for some infraction that they made. So if your state has a dealer educational requirement, I think you're going to find these are very advantageous, very advantage. They're going to be a great advantage to you. Some states require 4 hours, or our states that require 16 hours. So a handful of states require 6. Many states require 8. Okay, and many states also require that you take continuing education. So that's something to be aware of as well. And, I always want to give you that reminder, I will be giving your class. If you are getting your dealer's license in the state of Texas, you can go to texasdealers.com. I give that 6-hour online course that you can take at your convenience. I do the live 6-hour training for California, californiadealer.com, so I can help you get your license in California. Ohio Dealer is a mix of the two. You can either take the online course at your convenience, or if you'd like to meet up with me, I look forward to that. You can schedule one of the classes that I give in Cleveland, Columbus, or Cincinnati, Ohio. Missouri dealers are a little bit different. They have to take in-class training. So I give the in-class training in St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, MissouriDealer.com. And in New Mexico, we do not give the pre-license training. I do continuing ed. So that's a live Zoom class if you're renewing your license. But if you're in another state, we got great training programs for you. Dealertraining.org for every state is going to show you how to comply with your state laws. We have 3 separate courses. We have the startup course, the profit course, which has a lot of strategies, and the compliance course, which is really delves in to the different types of laws in different states. So hopefully TexasDealers.com, CaliforniaDealer.com, OhioDealer.com, MissouriDealer.com, NewMexicoDealer.com, or if you're in any other state, go to dealertraining.org, and you'll be able to certainly take a look at these training programs as well. Now, once you've gotten your license, normally you are going to have to be open. So, I get asked in my training classes all the time, well, I want to get a license, but I don't want it to be there. Well, most states, not all, most states are going to require some type of minimum staffing requirement. It doesn't necessarily have to be staffed by you, the owner, but sometimes they'll say it has to be staffed by a bona fide employee, which could be you or a salesperson or something like that. So do please keep that in mind. And always be aware that most states do run inspections. So let's just say, for example, if you have a dealer's license in the state of Kentucky or the state of Washington or the state of Nevada, you will have to keep your records open. So I always let everybody know maintaining 100% compliance is definitely going to help you maintain 100% profits. Okay, so do please keep that in mind. If there's a dealer out there that thinks they can get around some regulation, I guarantee you your state dealer regulatory agency has been dealing with dealers like that for years. Maintaining 100% compliance will always ensure that you keep your dealer's license for many, many years. This is a very lucrative business, and I predict that you're going to do very well in it. You just have to follow all the rules and the guidelines. So on a final note, you do have to make sure that you submit your application correctly. Some states still allow paper applications. Most states are requiring some type of online application now. So, you can always go to dealertraining.org and find links to your state regulatory agency. I hope that's helpful for you. And if you are looking to get licensed in one of these states, we can certainly help you here. Or if you just want to go to dealertraining.org, then you can certainly download those training programs. We've got training programs that will definitely help you. And like I said, if you are willing to take the steps to maintain compliance, you are looking literally at an unlimited profit potential with this license. Your state is basically giving you a license to go out and make as much money as you possibly can, as long as you're following all the rules and the guidelines. So that's what our courses do. Hopefully that's going to be helpful for you. or, there's a lot of great training videos there at dealertraining.org. And the compliance training that we have, the majority of those videos are located nowhere else. You can't find them on YouTube. We got a lot of great training content on YouTube, but you cannot find any of that information on YouTube. So, hey, with that being said, we are going to be running these every Friday. And I want you to be aware, next Friday, if you're going to be watching next Friday, we're going to delve into some other things here. I'm going to be talking about dealer profit strategies, and I hope these are helpful for you. So today's live stream was to basically help you get your license. And then later on, we're going to go into aftermarket products. We'll talk about trading credits, how to buy low, and also how to sell high. And I hope that is very, very helpful for you. So, hey, with that being said, I always want to give you that website one more time here, dealertraining.org. If this is where you need to get started, we will certainly be posting a lot more of these videos here for you in the very near future. So, hey, if you have comments, please leave them in the comment section. If you're watching the replay on this, I try to respond to every single comment, whether you have a question about a Kentucky dealer bond or a Florida office requirement or something like that. Please leave those comments. And also, one more time, if you can help me figure out how to zoom this a little bit better and make this live stream look a little bit better, if you leave some comments on the replay there, I would really appreciate it. I'm not some technological genius that can get these settings. So I really appreciate you being here today. Please come back every Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, 8 Mountain, and 7 Pacific. That's going to be every Friday morning. We're running the new dealer live stream. So thank you very much. If you're not in this industry, I strongly encourage you to get into this industry. Having a dealer's license, it really changed my life. I started out as a firefighter on a fire truck. I worked on one of the busiest fire trucks in the United States. And on my days off, I had my little lot that I started with. And I built that lot, and I took my income up to where I made a lot more with my small business than I was on a fire department. So I ended up retiring from the fire department. I did some other things too, but I train nationwide now, and hopefully this is helpful for you. I train dealers all over the United States, and I'm approved by several states as well. So hopefully that's helpful for you. So if you're thinking about getting into this industry, maybe you're like me. I procrastinated for years and years before I finally got my dealer's license. And once I got my dealer's license, I wished I had gotten my dealer's license many, many years before that. So if you're procrastinating, don't procrastinate any longer. So definitely get online and take this training. I think you're going to be really happy that you're getting into this industry. And as a reminder, please join us every single Friday morning. We'll be running these live streams. I hope that I can help you in the future. So good luck with your business. And thank you very much for being here. Hopefully we will see you next Friday. Thank you very much.